We first launched 3D 2.5 years ago on a very, very wet weekend in Wales with the Ryder Cup. But fortunately, despite the flooding, the Europeans won in fairly spectacular fashion. And since then, we've done about 14 different sports. And we have gone on to show big documentaries with David Attenborough, big Hollywood movies ranging from Avatar to the Toy Story trilogy. And it's really about providing Sky customers with a new way of watching TV. The F1 test that we're watching now, that we're here today for, is really very much an experiment. It's one-off. It's something that we thought would be great to try. Formula One management, who control the whole kind of filming and organisation of Formula One, have been brilliant in terms of enabling this to happen, but it's very much a one-off test. So in terms of how difficult this has been to set up, I mean, it's I think more than anything, the weather has been a challenge. I've had texts overnight from my colleagues out in Spain who are complaining about the level of rain, and they've been thinking they were going for a bit of winter sun, but actually it's been anything but. It's made it more challenging technically, but you know, it's not the most complicated thing we've done. It's got certain challenges, but the guys who work on Sky 3D, they're all about the challenges and the chances to do something new. So this is a great new project for us. So outside of the sporting arena, we kind of mainly split what we do into two big areas. The first is movies, and we've got deals with pretty much all of the big Hollywood studios. So invariably, the first time big 3D movies get seen in the living room on television, it's on Sky 3D. So we were the first channel in the world, anywhere in the world, in fact, to show Avatar 3D, and that needed the personal approval of James Cameron, which was great. And we've shown everything from Toy Story to Avengers Assemble to you know, the big movies. So and that's something that families love to watch. It's a real event since they get together in the living room, they gather around and watch these films. The other big area for us is what we call specialist factual, so the big wildlife and nature documentaries that we've worked very closely with David Attenborough on. It's amazing. He's the man who launched colour TV into the UK. He was the first boss of BBC Two, which was the first colour channel. And so technology and progress in TV is one of his big passions, which is why he loves 3D. And we work with him on, I think we've got our 4th film now we've just done. So we've been to the Galapagos Islands, we've looked at penguins, looked at dinosaurs, looked at the world of plants, and we've got a show coming up very soon around the world of bugs. So it's going to be good. I think our main focus is continuing to provide customers with the best possible big events. You know, they want the stuff that they're passionate about, but they want to see it in a completely new way. So a test like this is a great example. If you look at some of the footage, you see how the hills, the straights, the pits, it all just looks slightly different from normal. You get an insight, you get to see how close the cars are. You know, it's just a different way of seeing things. So what we want to do is continue to really push the technology, so customers constantly getting a new experience that they can't get anywhere else, and to be showing them the events, the stories, the things that they're most passionate about, because that's really why they choose to subscribe. Glasses-free 3D, I think, will be a big thing for the 3D industry generally. I don't think anybody knows for certain when high-quality glasses-free sets will be available on the high street at a price that you and I would want to be paying money for. I mean, you can go into, I think, Harrods or John Lewis right now, and for about £15,000 you can buy an enormous glasses-free telly, but for most of us that's not really achievable. We think it's probably a couple of years before you'll be able to go and buy a telly for somewhere between £1,000 and £1,500 that is really high quality glasses free. There'll be sets out before then that aren't so good, I think, quality wise, but this is a couple of years and you'll hit the sweet spot, we think. Formula One is something that's so familiar to so many of us. It's such a wonderful TV sport, and just to see it in a slightly different way, to see, you know, I just saw some shots from the pit lane and a tyre change, to see that close up in 3D as the car comes towards you, comes to a stop, the guys do their thing and the tyre change so quickly and go, it's like you just realise how remarkably good those people are. So I think as an experience, it's something that I'm very pleased with.
So what we've done is we've taken over one of our outside broadcast vans, which is run courtesy of Telegenic. Cameras, we've got 8 full 3D cameras. These are the types which are the full broadcast professional cameras, which you're seeing here today. Those are supplemented by a number of some smaller cameras. We've got 2 unique cameras which are radio cams, which are the shoulder cameras. They're totally independent, not connected by wires. If you've possibly seen it today, you've got super slow-mo as well, which is another interesting camera, just to show the cars as they go over the edges and the boundaries, show what happens, just in like the 2D world, but only showing it in 3D with more depth. So those are some quite interesting things we're looking at here in Barcelona as well. Technically, it's just two cameras instead of one camera. There's a lot of regulations that Formula One management have to go through to do it. But technically, from my perspective, there's no reason you couldn't do something with an onboard camera in 3D. It just comes down to balancing out and getting the health and safety correct when you implement it. I think everybody's been commenting on how some of the camera positions work so much better than the others, and I have to agree. Some of the lower down positions where you have the crest of the hill, where you're actually seeing the cars come out of the start lane and just come racing towards you, and pit lane cars joining at the same time. That works fantastically well. Again, some of the corners where the cars come round and actually coming towards you and then bend away on the corners perfectly. As we identified, and it's the same with sport and soccer, when you have the high up cameras looking down on things, you start to lose the perspective a little bit. So lessons learned, stick to the low down cameras and have the cars coming towards you. Those are the ones that really work well. And again, the pit lane cameras, which you saw where you can get really close to the action, those are the other ones that work very, very well indeed.